The last thing you said before I hit the record button was, sure, doesn't really matter as it relates to the lighting. I love your new zero fucks left to give attitude, Sheri, about the video portion of our podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying that the little
doesn't matter,
the little cuts, the little podcast
Yeah.
cuts that get turned into social media videos. You said, and I quote, I look like shit on all of those, so I'm not going to try anymore. And I said, you don't look like shit. You look beautiful on all of those. I always want to jump your bones, which got us into a conversation about where does that come from? Jump your bones. Like, what is sexy about jumping bones?
I don't know. And I said, I don't know, and I really don't
Well,
know.
I want to dig deeper. Just because you say
sure.
I don't know doesn't mean I'm not going to keep asking you questions.
Yes, that's true.
I wonder if since it's October, I wonder if it was at all Halloween related. Like somebody was dressed as a skeleton and somebody was like, ooh, look at that hot skeleton. I just want to jump those bones. Do you think it could be that?
I have no idea.
What about a necrophiliac that was a sex ed teacher in middle school?
God, jeez.
Bone jumper. That's the slang. That's what all the kids call necrophiliacs because they're always talking about that. Look at that bone jumper over there. Okay.
Maybe you need to turn your brain off sometimes.
Yeah. Well caffeinated and ready to talk on the Intoxicated Podcast. Sheri, we have our first episode of the Ask Laura segments coming up. Mm-hmm. I think we said it would be something like quarterly. And the first one's coming up here in November. It's mid-October, and we have done a subpar job so far of soliciting questions or soliciting from our audience that they send us questions. Mm-hmm. Yeah, soliciting questions. I said that right. For Laura, who was on episode 312 just this summer, did such an excellent job that we made an arrangement to have this be an ongoing series on a quarterly basis. Our listeners can send questions in for Laura Hammock, who is a licensed clinical social worker and couples and individual mental health therapist, and send their questions in, and we will ask Laura, and she'll answer them, and boom, it's like free therapy. I mean, who wouldn't take advantage of free therapy? I mean, I know I'm going to take advantage of it. I've got some questions prepared for Laura already.
Is it going to be, where did the phrase jump your bones, or...
Well, it might be. If people don't send us more questions, I might ask her all about the history of necrophilia and see what she says. I wonder if they taught her that in licensed clinical social worker class.
Probably not.
That'll probably be the first and only episode of Ask Laura if I go there.
Yeah.
The questions I would like to ask her, though, how big a deal is all this attachment style stuff? You know, secure attachment, which we know is good. And then you've got like various insecure attachment styles, like anxious. Yeah, thanks. What else is there? Anxious and
avoidant attachment.
Barnacle-like.
Avoidant.
That would be me. Barnacle-like attachment.
I think that's kind of more anxious.
Is that anxious?
Cling on.
Avoidant attachment. Yeah, that's a real one.
Yeah.
You weren't just making a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I hear this stuff, but okay, here's the honest truth. I hear it, I read about it, whatever. It doesn't stick for me. And I think there's one of two reasons it doesn't stick. I'm stupid, which is the kind of leading cause in the clubhouse in my brain. But then the other thing is, I don't know how, maybe nobody has explained to me how it's important or how pervasive it is or how it answers all the questions of the universe. And maybe Laura can explain that for us. And then once I know it's important, then I'll concentrate more and it'll stick.
I really hope that she says, I am not experienced enough in attachment styles, so I cannot answer. Except I know she's very smart and she will give a great answer. But I would
smart.
like,
just because she's smart doesn't mean I'm going to understand. She's way smart. Yeah, I would love it. Honestly, I would love it if she said, that's just all frou-frou, like psychobabble, internet psychology stuff, and it doesn't matter. Because then that'll make me feel a little more secure with the fact that I can't seem to lock it in for some stupid reason.
Because you can't understand it. It must be not worth it.
No, I'm not saying it must be. I'm saying I'm hoping it's not important because I can't figure it out. Also on that list, how does one know someone who might be interested in therapy or in need of therapy. If EMDR or DBT or brain spotting or CBT, which one is right in my case? You know, there's like...
In your case?
Yes, in my case. Lobotomy. I need lobotomy therapy. The LBT. They'll just give me... They'll put like letters in front of me and I'll be like, sure, sounds good. Why do you have a scalpel for my therapy session? But no, like, I think all this stuff, again, kind of falls into the same category. I think it's important, but I'm not really sure. And from everything I hear, there are major advancements that have been made in these areas. And so just sitting across from someone and talking is not the only way. And there's people are having wild success with some of these new treatment plans. But I don't know, like, let's say you have chronic depression or you're dealing with OCD. That would be mine. Let's say you have some problems with you can't just go to bed without checking to make sure the stove's been turned off. And you got to check like 3 times. Let's just hypothetically say that's your problem. Okay, well, what do you need?
We'll save that one for later.
EMDR, DBT, brain spotting, CBT, LBT. What do I do? Just only have a microwave oven and live in a house without a stove? Because I've thought about that, actually. That would save me a lot of time.
You don't like microwaves either, so.
Well, we had a microwave that didn't turn off when you opened the door. It kept running. I'm not a scientist. I think I'm proving at the beginning of this episode that I'm not smart about a lot of things. But I knew enough when we had a family with small children to take the fucking microwave that doesn't turn off when you open the door and throw it in the dumpster.
True, but you said I've never been a fan of microwaves.
Well, that's because I don't like to eat, a hot dog that's frozen on one end and scalding on the other. Something doesn't seem right about that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Laura, please help us. We're going to need to learn about how microwaves work.
Actually, first, we just need to solicit the questions from our audience. So, audience, please help us so you don't have to listen to Matt's questions to Dr. Laura.
That's right. That's the way...
Hammock.
She's not a doctor.
Yeah.
But she is a highly trained therapist.
But I just think it was funny when we were talking about this.
Dr. Laura, that mean lady.
She's kind of blunt.
Mean radio lady.
She's kind of blunt.
Kind of blunt, to say the least. I think we talked about her on the podcast once. I remember being angry.
About a response?
About the way she responded to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But no, our Laura is sweet and gentle and kind and empathetic and super smart. She can, so if you don't want me to ask her a bunch of questions about how hot dogs are cooked, then please send your questions for Ask Laura. Send them to matt@soberandunashamed.com. Please put Ask Laura in the subject line. Actually, we get a lot of emails, but we don't get so many that you need to put something special in the subject line or I'm going to not read them. So you can put whatever you want in the subject line. You can put anything but hot dogs in the subject line. You can put, yes, please, Matt, get a lobotomy in the subject line. Whatever, just send us questions. And you can be personal and then say, don't mention my name, and we won't. And it'll be like when someone calls, Fraser Crane on his radio show and says, my best friend has a sex problem. I need to ask you about Dr. Crane. Mm-hmm. And so, we won't identify you. In fact,
your voice won't even be on there, so you don't have to worry about anonymity.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do that where you leave your question by voicemail, or what do they call the radio stations all have them now, click on the microphone icon and leave us a talkback. They call them talkback. Well, I don't even know how to microwave a hot dog. We have not figured out talkbacks yet.
Well, let's just be honest.
Email us your damn questions for Laura. Please don't make me beg like I have to for all the survey responses week after week. Just send us some questions, people.
All right, great. Moving on.
We received an email from someone in our Echoes of Recovery group, Sheri, someone that you and I know and love that we are not going to mention by name, but we've gotten to know her quite well. And I'm going to read some of her email to us. She said, quick note to say that podcast with Lundy Bancroft, which, listener, is episode 316, called Partner Abuse with Lundy Bancroft. It was released on October 6th. So she said, quick note to say that podcast with Lundy Bancroft was so needed, and I truly appreciate it. It brought up so much of what I went through and kind of still am. I am so appreciative of all that you do to bring these challenging topics to light. And then the second paragraph, she went into some details about what she is still going through, and I can't read that paragraph without putting her in danger. So I'm not going to, obviously, but I am seething with anger about the treatment that she has received. And then also in that second paragraph, she goes on to talk about the help that she received from someone that she met through her Echoes of Recovery group. And when she described the specific help she was getting, I burst into tears. I was so it's like, when someone you care about is being hurt, but there is some kind of, like in this case, geographic separation where you can't be there to help that person, but then someone else does step in to help them, and you're just so thankful for that other person stepping in. I know you read the email too. You probably didn't burst into tears like me, but it was very touching. Won't you agree?
It absolutely was.
She finishes with, I don't think I could have done any of this without meeting her through Echoes and gaining the strength from being part of that program. I miss you all and hope you are well. Keep doing what you're doing with the podcast and support groups. I'm not reading this email as a form of bragging or solicitation. I'm reading it because we all need people. Everyone who's listening to this, including the two of us, you and I talking, we all need people. And if you think you're going to meet your people through a book club or a mom's group or an adult softball league, you might. That's a great place to start. I'm not against socializing and getting together with people, but the people that we need, those people have been through some shit. And you'll know you've met your people in the places where people talk about the shit they've been through. And so I would trust the people that we've met doing this work with my life and the lives of my kids. And, as listeners are probably sick of hearing me talk about soccer as one of my passions, I don't think I would trust my soccer buddies with my life or the lives of my kids. I mean, maybe if I got to know them better, I would, but it's the people that you meet in places where you can be vulnerable and are encouraged to be vulnerable and receive support and empathy for being vulnerable. Those are the people that you can trust with your life. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. I mean, so we run these groups, right? But I don't feel like I feel like I'm the one who's got the job of setting up the meetings and picking the topics. But beyond that, I feel like I'm getting as much out of it as anyone else. I hear epiphanies from other people that are insightful, and I'm like, wow. Or I hear people pour it out, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe that person had the nuts to do that. So, finding your tribe and letting it feed your soul is super important. And I want to talk to the men listeners out there. Being vulnerable is maybe a little bit harder for us, but it can become almost addictive in and of itself. Opening up and doing something that you've been taught not to do by society and maybe your family unit your whole life, and then doing it anyway and being rewarded for it, that feels pretty great. Wouldn't you agree, Sheri? Wouldn't you agree that us men, so I'm asking you a question about how men feel. Where's that lobotomy couldn't happen fast enough, could it?
Well, I don't
Anything you want to add? No?
I don't think so.
You're good?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, email her. We're so glad you're getting the support that you need and you're getting out of that toxic situation and getting to a healthier place. Super happy for you about that. I want to talk to the men again. Men, are the things you're doing the things that she wants? Are the things you're doing the things that she wants? We're going to talk about evolving masculine instincts today. And that is at the heart of it. Are the things you're doing the things that she wants? I want to use a specific example. from someone that we work with that we learned. This woman said that she received a text, I think, from her partner, and the text said, "Listen, I fed your horses, I made you breakfast, and I fixed your fence. What more do you want from me?" And my question back to that person is, yeah, but are you emotionally mature? What makes you think that feeding her horses, making her breakfast, and fixing her fence is what she wanted? Did you ask her? And are you able to have an honest, authentic conversation? Because I would bet you anything she wants that more than she wants her fence fixed. And fixing your fence is not some, slangy innuendo. Like she has horses. Right. He really fixed her fence.
She probably did want the fence fixed, but knows that there could be other people that could fix the fence. And what she wants from her male partner is a more authentic, more vulnerable, more engaged and present, style of communication.
I think you're right. And I think we're going to talk more about that after we tell our listeners about our sponsors. Sheri, we are supported by Defining You. We all know how deeply alcoholism impacts not just the drinker, but the people who love the drinker the most. Living with someone struggling with alcohol can take a toll on your own health and well-being, and it's easy to lose yourself in the process.
But your health and wellness matter too. And Kathy, with Defining You, knows this firsthand. When the world around her became uncontrollable, Kathy's health was seriously impacted. And now, 3 years later, she has taken back her health and is helping others who often put themselves last.
Kathy is helping people who have had their health impacted by stress and trauma to feel stronger, healthier, and more at peace. Defining You is not only a podcast covering a variety of topics based on real-life experiences, but Kathy also offers wellness coaching programs to help loved ones of alcoholics reclaim their energy, confidence, and joy. She gets what you're going through, and together, through simple, personalized programs, Kathy helps shift your focus on restoring balance, improving your sleep, losing weight, boosting your energy, and helping you feel like yourself again, even in the middle of life's challenges.
Your health and peace of mind matter, and taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. And you don't have to stay stuck in survival mode. You can rise, heal, and thrive.
If you're ready to feel better inside and out, email Kathy at definingyouconnection@gmail.com to schedule a complimentary consultation. You can also find Kathy and Defining You on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Listen to Defining You, the Defining You podcast, everywhere you find your favorite podcasts. Sheri, we are sponsored by SoberLink. SoberLink is the premier alcohol monitoring system, combining cutting-edge technology with compassionate design to support accountability in recovery and family law. Sheri, I am a long-form guy. I have never been accused of being concise or brief or efficient. No one has ever said, "Matt, could you please explain that a little more?"
No, certainly they have not.
My brain is made for essays and thorough discussions. The kind of discussions that make your eyes glaze over by the end, Sheri. So when it comes to sharing potent, single thoughts on social media videos, that is a challenge for me. But do you know what makes it possible?
Oh, I have no idea. What?
Preparation. I have been making IG and TikTok videos long enough with sting like a bee effectiveness. Get in, get out. Just the way you like it, Sheri.
Oh, I'm not even going to respond to that.
Preparation is the key. I have my technology set up constantly ready to go. I had these intoxicated t-shirts printed so I don't have to worry about talking about sex with a high school's logo on my chest. And the only reason there'd be a high school logo on my chest is because
you coach.
Yeah. I'm always prepared. So when something important pops into my mind, bam! A second later, it's on a socials video.
Bam, huh?
That's right, bam! All thanks to preparation. SoberLink understands the importance of preparation. Someday, bam! You might decide that your relationship or co-parenting situation would benefit from an alcohol monitoring system. But you are busy and you don't want to do the research and make sure you're getting the best deal without wasting money. So inspiration will pass. But what if you were prepared? Right now, SoberLink is offering Intoxicated Podcast listeners a free offer ID valid for a $100 enrollment bonus. You can grab your offer ID now and save it. And bam! When that happens for you, you'll have it. You'll be prepared.
That is a $100 enrollment bonus for SoberLink's best-in-class service and product combination with BAM! Built-in facial recognition, tamper detection, expert in-house support, email, daily, weekly, or monthly reporting that's count admissible in all 50 states and Canada.
It's court admissible, too.
Oh, court admissible, yes. Unlimited testing days and scheduled testing to build accountability and trust.
I feel like that BAM that you just added
I was
in
trying
there
to work it in there, and I was like, where's it going to fit?
Yeah.
How am I going to work this in?
I like that. Ad lib. Good job. Enroll when and if you are ready, but right now, while the offer is still available and while you are in preparation and planning mode, grab one of SoberLink's offer IDs for Intoxicated Podcast listeners for a $100 enrollment bonus. There has never been a better time to check out SoberLink.
That is on the top of the fact that SoberLink now allows new customers to pay a monthly service charge as low as $19 per month with a qualifying monitoring plan, rather than paying a big upfront cost to purchase a device.
Claim your offer ID for a $100 enrollment bonus. There is no commitment required to claim your offer ID while this promotion lasts, and you can use your $100 enrollment bonus when you are ready to place your order. To claim your offer ID, you will only be asked to provide your name and email address, no personal details, no commitment, no credit card number. To claim your offer ID for a $100 enrollment bonus, please go to soberlink.com/untoxicated. Sheri, I bet you some of our listeners are wondering if they can use their offer ID for a $100 to prepay for my lobotomy. But they would really like that.
I don't think you need a lobotomy.
Let's see what would happen if we got in
Maybe
there and just
therapy.
started, drilling around.
Yeah.
Do you ever wonder? I mean, I think it would be curious.
No. You have a lot of curious thoughts.
I fed your horses, I made your breakfast, and I fixed your fence. But that's not what she wanted. She wanted an emotionally mature conversation. Mm-hmm. A 100% emotionally safe environment. Sheri, I want to talk some math. I know that's one of your favorites.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got some stats, math, numbers.
You've had a rough week. And if I wanted to just make that week rougher for you, I would start talking stats and see if we could just glaze you completely over. But no, I'm just going to do some quick math, okay? Okay, let's do this.
Bam. Go.
Bam. So let's say you've been listening to our podcast and you've been checking out some other resources. Emotional safety, emotional maturity, that's not an uncommon topic out there on the interwebs these days, and in books and videos and stuff. And so let's say you're picking up what we're laying down and you are like, okay, emotional maturity, emotional safety, I need to get better at that. So I'm going to get better and I'm going to get really good. I'm going to be like 99% emotionally safe. 99%. On the surface, Sheri, tell me, does being in a relationship with someone who's 99% emotionally safe, does that sound good to you?
It doesn't sound as great as 100%.
Okay.
That's for sure.
That's fair. That's fair. But Sheri, we're humans. We all make mistakes.
Well, pardon me. I was going to say, I think that for some of us, they would take 99 over 100% because they've maybe had 9% in their relationship before. And so they feel like
99 is better than 9.
Right. But I don't think that anyone deserves just 99% of emotional safety. I think that they deserve 100%.
I feel like you said that without doing the math, which just proves how your intuition and your instincts are way more important than my logic-based thinker over here. But I'm going to do the math anyway, just to prove you right, which is one of my favorite things to do. So 99% emotional safety, I can tell you, to most of the men out there, that probably sounds pretty darn great. Sounds like you're scoring some points there. You're probably going to win your person over if you're 99% emotionally safe. But here's the math part. 24 hours in a day, agreed? 60 minutes in an hour? Mm-hmm. Okay. If you are emotionally safe for 99% of those 24 hours and 60 minutes in an hour, that still leaves a little over 14 minutes where you are not being emotionally safe. 1% of your day is 14 minutes. Okay? So that's 14 minutes where maybe you're getting darvoed. Or maybe you're getting insulted. Maybe you're just getting silent treatmented. I shouldn't say just. Maybe you're getting silent treatment. You're asking questions and you're getting ignored. Maybe you are being told that you're stupid. Maybe you're being told that you're not thinking about that right. God, I can't believe I have to put up with you. Maybe you're being cursed at. Maybe you're being called names. Maybe you're being emotionally abused in any other variety of ways. 14 minutes. If it might only be 1% and 99% success might sound good, but 14 minutes can be an eternity when it comes to emotional abuse. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Totally unacceptable. Mm-hmm. So we got to be 100% emotionally safe. And there's a way in which being 100% emotionally safe is actually easier than being 99%. Think about it in comparison to addiction, right? My primary addiction, I've got lots of little sub-addictions, but my primary addiction was to alcohol. Okay? It is perfectly healthy, perfectly advisable, perfectly awesome to be 100% sober. There isn't something in my life where I need alcohol. Some small amount of alcohol isn't actually advisable or beneficial. All of that science has been debunked. The truth is, alcohol is a toxin, it's a carcinogen, and being 100% alcohol free is every human's best alternative. So when, and if somebody said to you, I'm 99% sober, what would be the first thing that popped into your head?
I guess I would say, how does that happen? So why would you use sober and not 100%? I guess
if I was 99% sober,
I wouldn't have one thought. I would just have a lot of questions.
Yeah, if I was 99% sober, would you be jazzed about that?
No.
Would you be like, that's the end of the relationship? I'm not saying, I know you've shared in the past that you are like prepared in the unlikely event of a one-off relapse. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying if I came to you and said, Sheri, I've got a new plan, which I know is the kind of start to a paragraph.
Pack your bags and get out.
I know that is the kind of start to a paragraph that strikes fear into your heart when I say, Sheri, I've got a new plan. Mm-hmm. So if I said, Sheri, I've got a new plan, I'm gonna stick with this sobriety thing, but I'm gonna be 99% sober instead of 100%. What would you think?
Yeah, not good. Would not be good. Sorry, I don't have an answer. I mean...
That's an answer.
Yeah.
You have an answer. It's a great answer.
Yeah.
I just, you've got this, I'm picking up this sense that something's right behind it. But it's not today.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I would want to say right behind it, but my words are just being jumbled. So
yeah,
I'm better off just being a bit of a listener. Yeah, I guess I just think, again, I'm still how do you claim 99% sobriety? I'm still baffled about that.
Well, I don't think anyone would, but I think I know for sure there are people out there that are like,
it was just once in a while.
Or I'll be I'll be 80% sober, or I'll be, I don't know if they use those terms, but when you're like, I'm only going to drink one day a week, or I'm only going to drink on the weekend.
Yeah.
You're saying, I'm going to be 60% sober, aren't I, a gem?
Yeah.
I bet you're excited for me, for living with me. But
yeah, that's what I was just kind of thinking of, ugh.
It doesn't work.
Well, and it kind of goes to that thing with drinking. It was so much easier for you just to quit. And so many people say this. It was so much easier for you just to stop drinking and not play the negotiation with yourself.
Yes.
So all or nothing.
And that's why I say alcohol, I was blessed that was my addiction. If your addiction was is food or technology. Ay, Dios mío. That is so much harder because you can't live without food. You can't live without technology. I mean, you can live without technology, but not in our society. I mean, you have to go be a hermit in the woods, which actually sounds increasingly good to me. The more time I spend watching the news, being a hermit in the woods sounds great. But if you're not going to be a hermit in the woods, you can't be 100% technology free. Not really. Mm-hmm. So I'm lucky to have my primary addiction be one that I can, benefit and thrive living 100% without. 99% emotionally safe still leaves that 14 minutes. It's kind of, here's another analogy, right? Let's say because there's so much wounding that takes place in an emotionally unsafe environment when there's emotional abuse, so much wounding. Let's say you've got an emotional wound and it's, 99% of the time you leave it alone. 99% of the time it's scabbing over. But 1% of the time, 14 minutes a day, you pick at that scab and the scab comes off. Now you got an open wound again. And so the whole process has to start over. It's got to scab over again and then pick for 14 minutes a day.
That's why I like Band-Aids.
Because they keep you from picking your scabs.
Well, I don't pick my scabs, but yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that's a Band-Aid isn't going to be there.
Sheri the scab picker is here on the Intoxicated podcast today.
Picking your scabs. That's gross.
It is gross. But, sometimes we got to get gross to make the point. That's exactly what it's like. And so if you're someone, if you're the me in the relationship and you're thinking, in the past I was, I yelled at the TV screen about sports and politics and I was a little bit harsh in my disciplining of my kids. And sometimes when I was stressed and lacked the right amount of sleep, then I was short-tempered with my wife when we disagreed about something. These are all the kind of reasonable, in my mind, right? Reasonable ways I interacted with my family. But now it's 2025. I'm learning about emotional maturity and I'm saying, okay, I need to tap the brakes on all that. I need to not create anxiety in my household and I need to not be unjustifiably disruptive and just kind of nasty. And I got to not just lose my shit because I'm stressed from work. I got to hold that all together. Great. I can do that 90, 95, maybe even 99% of the time. But I'm here to say perfection is not an unrealistic goal. Now, this isn't to say that I never yell. This isn't to say that I never make mistakes. But it's way less than 1% of the time. A couple of times a year maybe I say things I regret all the time. You can't talk this much without saying things you regret constantly.
But you're not...
I'm in double digits for this podcast already of things that I regret.
But there's a difference between saying regrettable things versus being emotionally unsafe.
And emotionally abusive.
And yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah, the things that I say that I regret are mistakes. You don't just... Like when you and I disagree about a subject, you don't try to, yell at me and make me feel dumb or call me names because I don't agree with you or I don't understand it the way you do. So that's where you can make mistakes in saying something like, I can't believe that's how you think. You're like, oh, well, maybe that was the wrong way to put it, but let's talk about it. Let's try to figure it out. Like that's totally different than that 14 minutes of emotional unsafety and emotional abuse. Yeah. An example, just to make this a little more tangible, that happened just recently, earlier this week when we're recording this podcast, you were with somebody and it was kind of up in the air whether I was going to pick you up or you were going to get a ride or you were going to drive yourself. And the person you're with is someone that you're very fond of and close to and have a lot of stuff going on with. And so I got your text saying, you don't need to pick me up. The ride is on me. I'll figure it out. And then later, I said, I knew when I got that text that, you were going to be late. that you were going to be there a while. And
not late for anything specific,
right.
Just late for, later in the
It was going to be later than if I had picked you up.
Right.
And, that I immediately regretted it because that's a statement that's tinged with judgment. I didn't yell it at you. I didn't say it in a condescending tone. I wasn't exasperated and exaggerative. I just stated it, but I immediately regret it. And so that's an example. And I'd like to get your feedback. I don't think of that as emotionally unsafe. I think of it as a mistake, and I said, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have said that. I don't know. How did you feel about it?
Well, I felt annoyed that you said it, and I felt like it was throwing something back in my face or calling out a behavior from past experiences or something. So I didn't have a problem reacting to that right away. I didn't feel like it was something you were using to be emotionally and verbally abusive by any means. And then you said, oh yeah, that's also, awful the way I said it. And you're right. It wasn't meant to be like that. So
yeah,
I just kind of felt like, but it was very emotionally charged week and things like that. So there was a lot of sensitivity going on, and it was kind of winding down, and some things were left undone, and I was feeling like there wasn't some closure on things. So I was feeling emotionally charged. So I think those are very legitimate interactions that people have when there's an emotionally charged event.
Now contrast that for me with this. What if I was to say, God damn it, Sheri, you're such a fucking bitch.
Wow.
And then immediately say, ugh, I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry.
See, that's different. Because
explain.
The name calling and the cursing at me and, that's just, the cursing, the verbal abuse, the name calling, that's just wrong.
So the immediate sorry doesn't make up for that.
Yeah, it doesn't make up for that at all.
That's a scab picker. That's what we should have titled. You want to start over?
No, thanks.
Are they scab pickers or not scab pickers?
Gross. Oh, God, I hate that.
We should have a panel and they can rank. They can throw scabs at me when the things I say are scab pickers.
God, I think I'm going to have to walk out. I'm going to throw up. I'm not squeamish about a lot of things, but that's one thing.
Okay.
That's why I said I like Band-Aids, because when our kids would have an injury, I'm like, I just don't want them to even think about touching the scab. And
yeah. You said scab. Would you stop being so disgusting?
Okay. But I think that but you wouldn't have ever said that to me, the cursing at and calling me names. You wouldn't have said that just out of the blue. It's not something you just slip back into, I think, as a habit, too. I think, you can put your foot in your mouth. Yeah, you can show your ass a few times. But when you go that far, that's something you've not ever rectified if it's that quick off the tongue.
Yeah, I think this clarification is so important because I don't want someone to listen to this and think, this chucklehead is talking about perfection. So you can never make a mistake? That's what emotionally safe perfection is? No, I'm not saying you can never make a mistake. Sometimes you say things that are unintentionally hurtful. Sometimes they're only hurtful because of the way they're absorbed by the person you're saying them to. I could say, and this is a great example on the same topic. We have a neighbor that you're good friends with, and that neighbor is very, very talkative. You are very talkative. And when you say, I'm just going to go across the street for a minute, I'm like, okay, I'll see you in 2-3 hours probably. And I can say that and that doesn't upset you.
Right.
Because you know that you enjoy this person's company. They enjoy your company. And that's just the way it goes. And so in a different context, I said, I knew as soon as I got your text that you were going to be late. And because it was emotionally charged and because it was a stressful week, that was received as something hurtful without it being intended from me as something hurtful. And that's not if I had said, "Oh, you're gonna drive yourself home. Well, I'll see you whenever. I hope breakfast will be ready when you get home tonight." If I had said something like that, then that's emotionally unsafe. But just saying, "Oh, I knew when I saw that it was going to be a while," is not. So there's some nuance in this. But so don't think, "Oh, this chucklehead's talking about 100% perfection on emotional safety. That's unattainable. That's stupid. Relationships are hard. Communication is hard. I can't be expected to be perfect." Like, that's all just dumb. You can be expected to be respectful of your partner 100% of the time.
Because it's the environment that happens all the time that I think you're right about the nuances. The environment, the feeling, the sense that you get when you're with this person and you're in your house and you're on your day-to-day, everything has to be a lot more emotionally safe. And when it is a slip, like you've put your foot in your mouth a little bit, you haven't gone to the deep end of calling and dragging in curse words and names and, and slamming your hand on the table. Because that just shows you haven't been in an environment that you're not, if you're the person that does it, working on being emotionally safe any of the times. You've basically just been white knuckling, not being a dickhead.
Oh, I like that. You've been white knuckling, not being a dickhead. There's a lot of people that do that, I think.
I think you're right.
Alcohol gets out of the way, and it turns out they're still a dickhead, and they're like, I got to get dickhead sober too. Wasn't planning on that. And then they white knuckle that. Yeah, that's hard. Well, the nuance that you're talking about, the complexity, Sheri, that's one of the reasons that when I walk into a room full of people, I don't give the greeting that in my heart I really want to give, which is, "What's up, bitches?" Because I'm afraid somebody's going to misconstrue that.
Yeah.
They're going to think I'm being mean.
Yeah.
When really, I'm just being mean.
Playful.
I'm just being who?
Is that how you go around
I'm being
talking?
a hundy over here. I'm being 100%. I'm being me. I'm being Matt. I got to be me.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Zip it.
Since my voice is still hoarse and puberty-like, maybe I should sing some Frank Sinatra.
Please don't.
That'll be great. All right, so you can be 100% perfect, emotionally safe, and still make mistakes. And that doesn't knock you off from being emotionally safe, because we humans, we make mistakes. Like, for instance, I started this podcast talking about necrophilia. I regret that. I wish I hadn't gone there.
I bet you wish you knew how to edit better.
I do. I'm not so good at editing, bitches. So it's staying in. So back to our example. I fixed the fence, I made you breakfast, and I fed your horses. The thing that's missing from that, the thing that I want to add is, what more do you want from me? Because that's the implied piece, right?
Yeah.
That's like when I got sober. I got sober for you. What more do you want from me? That's the implied piece.
That's also a scorekeeper.
Yeah, well,
so that's not an
a good
emotionally
point.
Safe person if they're a scorekeeper.
Yeah, that's right. That is a good point. This is someone who was on the receiving end of that text who has a good job. She can pay someone to fix the fence. She needs you to direct your masculinity. And the reason I chose this as like a direct quote instead of just making up my own examples, I could have made up, I took the trash out for you and I drove the kids to soccer and I painted the living room. I could have made up 3 other examples and then left her completely out of it, but I picked hers because there's something, kind of masculine about, I fixed your fence, right? I fixed your fence. But she can pay someone, as you said before the ad break, you said she can pay someone to fix the fence. And I was like, wow, has Sheri been reading my notes?
No.
You can pay someone to fix the fence, but you can't pay someone to have an emotionally stable conversation with you. You can't pay someone to have a conversation where you're processing a resentment or dealing with a trauma. You can. That's called a therapist.
I was
God damn it.
trying hard not to say that in the first example. Well, I bet you can.
I know, but we know full well processing a resentment or a trauma that occurred between you and me, if you were to go to a therapist to process that and I wasn't involved, it would not be as satisfying. So what she wants some satisfaction from her man. And it's not coming from his masculine fence fixing. It would come from his emotional masculinity of having a conversation about the resentment, about the trauma, him being a good listener, him offering support. That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it, Sheri.
Yeah.
Sheri, I want to talk about another example from last week. We were in Indiana. Your mom, she has moved to a assisted living facility, and you and your sister have gotten her house ready for sale. And I was out there to help clean out the house, to do the manly carrying of the couch, which I threw my back out doing.
Actually, you didn't even throw your back out carrying the couch. I would love to just drop you in the grease for why you threw your back out and how much of a whiny person you were in my presence after everybody left, but I'm not going to.
No, go ahead. What do you mean? It was carrying the couch.
You said, I got a twinge in my leg from driving because you were very generous and drove our vehicle that's big enough to carry some things back, or if need be, bring our little trailer, pull behind trailer to get things from the house. So you drove our car, and then if need be, you were going to pull a little trailer that we have behind to bring some stuff home from my mom's house. And you actually hurt your back driving because of your,
Did they get into a bad car accident?
Well, I was going to say, would you call it your pedal modulating?
Pedal modulation.
Between going from gas to accelerate.
The cruise control set, but then someone would pass me that was going faster, and I'd say, well, I'll just follow him for a little while. And then I'm on and off the gas and the brakes, and 14 hours and 2 minutes
sitting
straight
in a car.
Through driving.
Yeah. I mean, you got out a couple times, but yeah. That's really how you did it.
So that was part. It was part that, and it was part carrying the couch and the dresser and all the heavy, manly, masculine stuff. The carrying that hurt my back.
I think you were maybe just exasperating or exaggerating the injury that was already there.
This is unrelated to my point.
Well, you were the one that said, "Oh, I hurt my back carrying a couch." When
I did.
I hurt my back driving.
So we were out there at your mom's house. We got it all cleaned out. Mm-hmm. The couch magically got out of there. It wasn't me or my back that got it out. And
there were other people helping.
We were looking around her house, and it occurred to me that your mother had a similar early life to ours. This is kind of the first time that this had occurred to me. She had in marriage in her younger days had experienced alcoholism and emotional abuse and the trauma that's associated with that. But this house that she was in was all past that. She moved into the house basically right at the exact same time as you and I met. And the entire time I've known you, she hasn't been in a toxic relationship. And there were signs of that in this empty house that you wouldn't notice if there's furniture everywhere and things hanging on the wall. Like, for instance, there's no holes in the wall. The paint is all good and even and nice. There just aren't signs of someone living in a house that went through chaos and trauma. And I described her house as being like a bowl of mashed potatoes. It was like the ultimate comfort food. I mean, partially it was because it was like the paint was an off-white color, so it looked like mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
But it was way more than that. It's just a feeling of, like your mother had said, I already went through all this toxic shit, and now for this segment of my life, it's going to be peaceful or be damned. And she did a really good job of protecting the house that was also protecting her. It was like a symbiotic relationship. It was like a big kind of epiphany thing that happened for me, sitting in this empty house with my couch carrying backache.
Sitting on a heating pad while you were sitting in a shower chair.
Perhaps you would have wished I'd had a lobotomy at that moment.
Just a good piece of duct tape.
I was a little bit on the whiny side. I don't handle pain well. I can admit that.
Yeah.
But so when we went to see your mother in the
assisted living
facility the next day, we told her about that. We told her about how much we thought that she had done a great job of caring for that house that was caring for her all those years. And it teared you up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it occurred to me in that moment that the things that I did that were traditionally associated with masculinity, like carrying the couch and the dresser and making the runs to the storage unit and, all the like heavy lifting things, those, like you said, other people that were there, like your nephews were helping. They could have done that without me. If you had to, you could have hired somebody to come and do that. Mm-hmm. But to have that little bit of an epiphany and share it with your mom, that was the thing of the 5 days I spent with you on the tail end of your 8 days of that trip. That was the thing, it seemed to me, that probably meant more to you than the carrying. What do you think?
I thought it was a great recognition, and it was a great way for you to acknowledge that my mom had worked really hard to, gain this peace and sense of security within her own home.
And independence, because she did this without a man,
I was going to say, yes, because she had actually, she had been divorced from my dad and then remarried when I was a freshman in high school. So, and then that ended, it wasn't a terribly long relationship, but she did all this without the help of anyone else. So, yeah, I thought that was just a very generous way to acknowledge her work and what she had done to create this and how you appreciated that in her. And I thought that was, yeah, you're right. We could have done all this without you being there. But I did feel like it was very generous, and I felt very loved when you drove out by yourself to make this happen so we wouldn't have to get a larger storage area to store this and do this another time, or you were to say, hey, you don't need any of your mom's shit. We've already got our own storage areas of shit, that kind of stuff. So that was also something that I felt was much more generous from you than coming and carrying a couch and moving around her big bed and things like that.
Yeah. So the things that meant the most to you were me not rejecting, you wanting to take some things that had an emotional connection to you, even if they're not necessarily, practical or needed, mm-hmm. As compliments to our own piles of shit stuff that we've already got.
Yeah.
And telling your mom how much I thought she did an awesome job of protecting the house while it protected her. So it sounds like I'm sucking up for compliments here, which is not something that's beyond me. So I do recognize that that's in my wheelhouse, but that's not what I'm doing here. I'm trying to quote Scott Galloway, who's one of my favorite talking heads that I like to get inspiration from. He says all the time, you got to understand the assignment. And so there was a masculine component to this assignment to go out there and help you with the house. But the assignment, the core of the assignment was not to carry the fucking couch. The core of the assignment was to make it safe for you to do the things you needed to do without being mocked, without being criticized, without being denied the time you needed to do it and the space you needed to do it. And to take the emotional safety that we've built in our house here in Denver, to take that on the road and let it be emotionally safe in a place that was going to be emotionally more turbulent for you than it is here in our house, because you were doing something really hard for your mom. Is that all fair? Mm-hmm. So understand the assignment, and there is room for masculinity. It's just not what you think it is. It's not fixing the fence. It's not carrying the couch. it's emotional masculinity. It's stepping out of your own comfort zone and protecting and providing safety, but protecting not from the the bad guy or the wolf that's stalking you. It's protecting from the kind of dismissal and lack of patience and we don't have room in the car for that. Put that back, or that's not worth anything. Get rid of that thing. Or look at the cat scratched the shit out of that chair. Why do you want a cat scratch chair? We've already got a bunch of cat scratch chairs. That's a literal example.
It's not nearly as cat scratched.
It's actually quite comfortable too. It's a weird shape, but I liked sitting in it with my back, my hurty back. Okay. So, understand the assignment. So important. So, let's switch as we finish here today and talk about what is a woman's role in all of this. If we're going to talk about the gender components and we're talking about masculinity. If you are in a partnership with a person, a man probably, who struggles with emotional maturity, who thinks 99% is good enough and doesn't understand why they need to get to 100%. Or maybe they haven't even tried to understand the assignment yet, and they're not even close to 99%. Your role in this, in my humble opinion, is not to go backwards. It's not to become, Edith Bunker and just dote all over your guy, hoping that will bring him around emotionally. It's actually the opposite. It's not unlike the fact that if you are in relationship with a drinker, the only way you can influence them towards sobriety is to detach, not to beg or plead or cajole, but to detach and extract yourself from it. The same holds true here. If you are seeking an emotionally safe environment and the person you're with is struggling to provide that at 99% or even anything close to that, the very best thing you can do is to demand it more. Not to acquiesce, not give us 100 chances, not accept 99%, not to say, oh, I know you're trying, I know this is hard for you. Demand what you deserve, which is respect 100% of the time. If you just look at it that way, and you say to someone, do you deserve to be respected 100% of the time? I think everyone would probably say yes. And if you wouldn't, then that makes me sad. Every human deserves to be respected 100% of the time. And if you're in a relationship where it's 60% or 70%, but they're trying, your best bet is not to give them more room and be patient. Your best bet is to demand it now. Because listen, a guy that's worth having will find a way to step up. And if they're given a bunch of room, they'll take a bunch of room. What do you think about that?
Thanks for laying it out there so well. I don't know if I can add a whole lot more to it, except I think when you are asking for, and I think you use the word demanding for more respect, you have to understand your value and appreciate that and have love and respect for yourself to understand that you are worthy of that. Every person is worthy of the respect. So don't just think of it as, they're trying really hard and, just remember they're just, white knuckling it not to be a dick the rest of the time.
White knuckling dickheadedness.
So you need a partner that's going to match the things that you need. And I'm not advocating for split in the relationship. I think you have to challenge the relationship and the status quo that has been going on in the relationship. But I think that's a very difficult step for a lot of people in the partner side of the relationship, the sober partner side of the relationship that has been darvoed and gaslit and made to feel worthless. But just know that you have self-worth and you are entitled to having a partner who can be respectful and kind and generous. And if that happens, 100% of the time, but then there are this is that little nuance. If there are those verbal slip ups that are like, oh, I just knew I knew you were going to bring me that after I was already closed up, or whatever. Like I already closed that off. I'm just thinking of like the storage area. Like, oh, here's another thing that goes in the storage area. Instead of saying, damn it, I've already locked it up, say, can we get it later? Or, hey, I knew that would happen. That's how it always goes, right? Like kind of playing it off like that instead of being cursy. And I think that you also have to...
Or know the assignment and open the storage unit and put the thing away and don't say a damn thing.
Right.
Because that's a sign of masculinity.
Yeah. But I think...
Emotional masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional Masculinity by Calvin Klein. Available at Macy's this Christmas. It's in the lobotomy section. Are you married to an asshole-aholic?
No, it's not in the lobotomy section.
Is he dickhead white knuckling?
He's not in the lobotomy bed. That's in the mainstream. That's what we want, the mainstream.
That's right, baby. That's the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and emotional masculinity, it's not beyond our capability. Most of us, though, we don't respond well unless the response comes with consequences, or the request comes with consequences. So think about what the consequences of not being treated with 100% respect might be for you. Verbalize them and then stand behind them. And you're going to find out a lot about your partner. You're going to find out if they can meet the moment, or you can find out if they're probably never going to treat you with the respect you deserve. And so maybe that is a sign that you don't want to waste any more time. Mm-hmm. That's harsh, man.
Yeah.
But I don't see a third direction.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not willing to put in the work and understand why they behave the way they've behaved, maybe it's an environment that they grew up in and they just felt like it was fine, like we've learned with Lundy, Bancroft. Like, so much of it is learned behavior patterns and expectations on a partner. So you need to disrupt the expectations and be willing to grow.
I get my mental health advice from Big Tom Callahan from Tommy Boy. You're either growing or you're dying. There ain't no third direction. Now, if you, listener, would prefer to get your mental health advice from someone who's not a dead movie character, then what you want to do is ask Laura. Ask Laura, the Intoxicated Podcast's very own licensed clinical social worker and couples and individual mental health therapist. Ask her about your relationship, or ask her about your own personal growth and healing. Send your questions for Laura to Matt at soberandunashamed.com, and we will ask Laura your question on an upcoming episode that may or may not be in November. Thank you for listening to the Intoxicated Podcast. You've got this, and we've got you.